Is keeping up with the Joneses a thing of the past?
If it isn't already, it should be.
It's time that we define success on our own terms.
Let's talk about how we found our success and how you can find yours. Hello, and welcome to Adulthood is a Project, the show where two sisters discuss the lessons learned and growth earned through the realities of life. I'm Charlie, and you all know my sister Casey, and we're your hosts.
In today's episode, we will discuss success. We will also discuss the ins and outs of how we define it and how it can be different for everyone. Let's get started. All right, so how do you define success?
For me, it's really changed into happiness. I feel like I put success and happiness together because being happy on a, generally speaking, like day-to-day basis to me is success. So that I think that's now, years ago it would have been a different answer. But yeah, now it's definitely just happiness. If I'm happy on a more regular basis than not, that's success to me. What about you? What's your definition?
I hadn't even thought about just being happy. I guess I would just say more feeling at peace and simplicity.
Okay. You know what, though? I would put those two things right there with my happiness.
Yeah. I just hadn't thought about it in that way.
Fair enough. So we almost have the same definition, just with a little twist or whatever on it. Because, yeah, to me, if you have that, day-to-day peace for not constantly feeling stressed and all that extra stuff, like hell yeah, man. Do you have you then always had that same definition of success? I was just thinking, like I said earlier, I don't know that I would have defined success the same way years ago. So then I'm like, have you always had the same definition?
No. And I can remember, especially in my 20s, feeling like there was some timeline I wasn't meeting.
Yep.
And especially after, getting divorced, and then I have kids, and I'm working as a waitress, barely making money. Like, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I'm 27. I'm supposed to be so much further along in my life. And I'm further along than what, right? Because
26 was when it hit me really hard too. That I was divorced, but I didn't have kids, and I was almost sort of like having a freak out. I'm like, I was supposed to be having kids by now. I was supposed to be doing this by now. I'm like, and it after a good old drunken cry evening, kind of letting that go. Yeah. Give or take. I had to sit there and be like, but why? Like, you need to change what your definition looks like. Because, and have to get real with myself. I'm like, if you were still married right now, would that have been successful? Probably not at that point. So that's when I started realizing I can change what my definition of success looks like to me.
Really?
I guess.
Figured it out that early on?
I don't know that I defined it as success at the time. I think I just had to quit putting the expectations. So I think at the time I probably considered them expectations. I expected to have been married for 10 years and be ready to start a family and have a home. And I wasn't meeting my own expectations. And so again, that one night I cried.
Just that one time.
Just the one. I took it and said, well, you got to change this, right? Because then does that really look like, would you be happy if that was your case right now, if you were living that? And I was kind of like, no. Okay, so maybe that's not your goal anymore. So I think it was a mixture of, if I hit a goal and it was successful. So now in my 40s, I can look back and realize it was kind of 2 in 1, like it was the same thing. So yeah, I would say I actually did kind of figure it out that young. I just didn't perhaps realize that's what I was figuring out, if that makes any sense.
It honestly took me forever to figure out that I could not live on this timeline that I had magically thought up in my head.
Yeah, the pressure you were putting on yourself.
Right. So that took me a long time to figure. I mean, probably I literally only figured it out within the last 3 or 4 years.
Okay, I was really ahead of you on that one then.
Wait, because
You know, I don't think you and I've ever really talked about success though. We've talked about dreams and goals. I don't think we've ever sat there and said, "Do you think you're successful, or do you find that successful?" I don't feel like I was pushed a lot, and I don't know that you were either. So I don't think you and I have ever had that discussion about it, which would have, like I said, for me, I think it was more about reaching goals.
I think also, especially in those early, in your 20s, and I could get really caught up in the comparing where I was compared to where this friend was.
Oh yeah.
And then just thinking, oh, Jiminy Christmas, how are you guys still married? I mean, why isn't your husband a drunken meth head?
Yeah. Like, what? This isn't fair. How'd you do that? Which, what's funny is I think about that. It would have been about that same time that I'm really going to age myself on this, but I think it was about that same time that Facebook was becoming really popular. So
Yes.
I was getting into Facebook and finding friends from high school and such on there that seemed to be living these lives that was not anywhere near what I was doing. And I thought, what I've really done this wrong, possibly. And I think that kind of added into the having to say to myself, well, are you happy? Like, are you happy? Are you having fun? Like, is it in? It wasn't. I'm not. When you're like, oh, you figured it out, young. I'm like, I don't know that I figured it out as much as I might have figured it out, but I didn't come to terms with it that young. That's maybe a good way to put that.
I got you. In those younger years, I got caught up in a lot of comparison. But then I just started being like, hey, I had my first divorce before you did. So maybe you're behind on your timeline.
Yeah.
Get it together,
Well,
dude.
I don't know if I mean, I feel like we have an advantage because we didn't constantly grow up with the social media stuff. And I know I've seen a lot of little article things I read here and there, about how the kids these days really do a lot of comparison because of social media.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm, as you said, like, yes, I did it. I'm not going to pretend I didn't because it's about that time it's coming about. But I'm so thankful that it wasn't a huge part of how we grew up because I might have felt a lot more of having to compare myself to others before realizing how much of those people really just put their best lives out there.
Yeah.
They're not putting all the day-to-day nitty-gritty stuff. Right. So that comparison, though, it can definitely make you feel like a failure, right? And if you're not, if you're a failure, that means you're not successful. Those two, they tie in with each other.
Exactly. So, no, I would say I definitely haven't always had the same definition of success because it took me a long time to get to the point where I realized success is just feeling at peace with myself and peaceful with my life. The more simplistic my life can be, the better on my end.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I definitely feel the same way for sure. Because it takes the stress out of stuff. And not being stressed is a success to me as well.
Oh, indeed. I would say right now, I feel pretty successful in life because I have kids that are grown. They're good people, right? And
They are. most days.
I'm not gonna say they never make mistakes.
No. They're perfect angels. Are you kidding me?
Perfect angels.
Choo choo.
All this happening after my Sunny boy, little drunk on a train tonight, missed his stop, called me drunk, ridiculousness. You know what though? He got himself on another train, and he's headed in the correct direction at this point.
Success.
Woo! Nailed it.
I find myself successful, and I've probably been in a similar-ish situation a time or two. So,
Yeah.
no comparisons, no judgment. It's all cool here.
No. But I mean, they are grown, and they have goals in their own lives that they're reaching for, and I know for sure
Yeah.
the flower child was just making out a little planner for herself for one of her goals that she has, and so she's working on that. And so with who they are, and they're good people. They are honestly, both my kids, I feel like, are people that are kind, they're compassionate. They are responsible most of the time.
Yeah. They're still young. They're doing everything that normal young people do. And I would agree with you. Like, you raised awesome kids, right? So, like,
Yeah.
that would be a success right there for sure.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
with that, and then I have a job that I care about. I obviously have this awesome podcast, and and then I'm living in my travel trailer. I think I'm successful in not pausing our podcast in the middle of recording, but and
I
the
didn't
other thing
touch
I was
anything.
gonna say, oh, not even yourself.
Not in public, Carlos.
What's your definition of success? Not touching myself in public.
Dude. We can't even say what I'm thinking right now. Yeah, okay. That is a huge success.
Huge success.
Huge. Okay.
More seriously though. realized I think I know what you're gonna say.
I wondered if you were gonna catch it. Like, I can't say it.
I'm sorry, viewers. We. Oh goodness.
That was an inside joke we truly cannot share.
We can't. It's somebody
pro-
else's.
Yeah, others.
To protect others. Yes.
God. Oh my God. Okay. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay.
Now, for real though, my other thing is I live in a travel trailer, right? Which I know most people are not going to look at that as, oh, that's a definition of success. You live in a travel trailer. But for me, it's exactly what I wanted.
Yeah, you've wanted it for a long time.
Yeah.
So it was achieving a goal for you for sure.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just setting, when I made the choice and decided to go ahead with getting the travel trailer instead of renting an apartment or something like that, it was a matter of setting myself up for the life I plan to have. And I know that I'm stationary right now, but that's not always the plan.
No. That's we got big plans for that travel trailer of yours.
Oh man, yeah, we do.
We're taking this show on the road.
We will.
Yeah. Well, it's funny though when you said, about most people wouldn't define that as success, and you got to sit there and think, at what point do we stop worrying about what society says is success and just focus on what we think it is? Like you said, owning that travel trailer was a dream for you, and you're like, I'm gonna make that dream happen. And even though normal society wouldn't look at that and say, well, that's not, who would want that? Who cares what you want? It's me. It's my life. I'm the one living it.
Yeah.
So
I will say there's still sometimes when I have to remind myself, because when I'm talking to people and I say something about, oh yeah, well, I live in a travel trailer, you can see the look on their face.
And, oh, is it like trash? Trailer trash.
And I have to make sure I remind myself, okay, Casey, this is what you wanted. This is your definition of success, and it's not theirs, and that's fine.
True.
It's still okay.
Absolutely.
To share
And
that.
yeah, you don't have to hide that. Like for you, that is sharing that you succeeded in something. Not on the same thing, but kind of a similar note of, what people think. And I've never been someone that had a dream job. Like I don't have a dream career. Well, this actually, you know what? This podcast is really fun for me. Like this is the most fun I've had doing so much work. But there's a lot of years in there, and I got into the serving and bartending industry, and I was honestly having a lot of fun with it, and I still do most days. I mean, some days are better than others, but at the point I was doing it full time, and I remember people kind of being, "Aren't you going to get a real job?" Or what would you do if you had a real job? And I remember thinking to myself, it was probably, I would have been, I don't know, early 30s or something. and I'd already had my home. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't have a real job, so I don't make real money. What are you talking about? Like, that's how I own the home I live in with my fake money.
I would tell you also, there was a time when I had what I would say society deemed as successful, right? I owned a home. I had kids that I stayed home with. I was married. I homeschooled. And at the time, all that stuff also felt successful for me, right? Those were things that I wanted. And they were
Yeah.
the goals when I was on that life path. So,
Which I was just going to, sorry, I cut in and interrupted you, but that kind of goes with how we were talking, about what you define as success can always be changing because our life paths are always changing.
yes, because that's what I was going to say is,
Yeah.
when that life path changed, my goals did also, which I would tell you truly, my goals just reverted back to what they were when I was younger. So I remember being, 17. I just wanted to live in a van and not really be responsible.
Down by the river.
Down by the river. That was my goal. And even when my kids were younger, I tried to talk Jaybird into, let's buy an RV. Let's do this. And he was immediately like, Casey, that is not happening. We're not trailer trash. We're a lot of things, but trailer trash.
Oh, I am. Because you haven't given me the opportunity yet.
Oh. And
oh man.
Yeah, when I was able to finally just say, oh man, like my kids are almost out of the house. Why would I want to buy a house? That has not ever been what I saw myself doing. So I went with the travel trailer, and I love it.
I know so many people who, the minute they retire, sell it all and get that travel trailer. So I think you kind of honestly, without meaning to by any means, went down a very similar path as a lot of people with when you have kids. Yeah, you want a home because you want that steady place for them to grow up in, call home, make their memories in, do all that jazz that kids seem to want to do. And then once they're gone, you're like, I can go back to reverting to the other dream I had before I had the kids.
Yeah.
So I've never had the kids, right? And I end up in this house, but I never intended to buy a damn house. It just was one of those, it fell in my lap. I was not looking to buy a home. It was just at the time that I bought it, it was cheaper to buy this house than it was to rent a 1-bedroom apartment. So I bought the house because it saved me money, which then turned into this, amount of time I've lived in this home and made it mine, which then changed a lot of thoughts on success for me, right? Of making this house comfortable or making it the house I wanted it to be, making the backyard a place that I love to sit and hang out and have my cocktail in. And so that kind of changed some of my ideas there. It is pretty awesome. I love it. I do love it. It's pretty relaxing back there for sure. And it's a fun time. It's a little time warp back there sometimes. You don't know where the time goes.
Yeah, right.
That happened a time or two. And then I find myself at different times I'm now kind of attached to the home, which I never intended to do. And I'm like, oh, maybe I need a travel trailer. Well, I'll just move into yours. That's fine. But
as soon as we get the flower child out of here.
Yeah, I know. Kick her out. I don't know what she's doing.
Working on her dream RV.
Right? Because, yeah, honestly, owning a home was never at any given time was that a goal. Like, it wasn't in my success goal, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But it did. Obviously, it worked out really well for me. 100% not sad that I did it. Glad I was living in it. And like I said, using that as an example to all those people all those years ago of, well, that's not real. And that's not, just because it's not your idea of real doesn't mean it doesn't work for someone else. So you're, the travel, just because you don't think living in a travel trailer is successful doesn't mean it's not to me.
Mhm.
And I think those little things are kind of when I started just deciding that what meant the most to me was being happy. And I think that's why I started just defining success for me was being happy. So if I find myself in those situations where I'm unhappy, I'm like, well, let's fix that because that's not success. I don't know. I don't know at what age that all started, right? Because it was just a slow progression, but just saying society's not going to rule me in what I think happiness is. That the keeping up with the Joneses, if you will,
Yes.
never appealed to me. Yeah,
Yes. Keeping up with the
that
Joneses.
one. Yeah. I'm like, I don't care about who they are. I don't care about what they're doing.
Yeah.
The Joneses aren't living my life. Uh, isn't that saying comparison is the thief of joy?
Yes.
You're taking all the joy out of it if you're comparing it to keep it up with someone else, even if it's someone at your age or something that I don't know, could be doing something that you think you want to do, but then you can look at them and be like, are they happy? I for instance, over the past about a year now, have met two different people who definitely you can tell that the amount of money they make makes them feel successful.
Mm.
And when I say this, neither of these people bragged to me about it. It wasn't like a shove it in my face. It was nothing like that at all. It was just, it came up in some serious conversations we were having, just some deeper conversations about life and stuff. And when I was like, what do you even make? I'm like, I don't even want to tell you. If you're upset about what you make and it doesn't make you happy, if you hear what I make, you're going to wonder why I'm not eating, like, I don't know, canned tuna every night or something like ramen noodles every day. That would be all I could afford if you think like what you make is nothing. And I kind of told them, and they're like, "Oh my God, are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "But you're so happy. You're always doing things. You go." I'm like, "Because I chose to make different things my priority. Like making money wasn't making a set income, I should say, wasn't ever a goal of mine. But probably because I didn't have a career goal. So if you have a career goal, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, absolutely follow it. But for someone like myself that doesn't have one, I'm just following my bliss, if you will. Yeah.
Though, even if you have a career goal, say for example, me, I went to school, I got my degree. I'm a teacher, for Christ's sake. Let me assure you.
Yeah.
I'm
Not a,
not
it's not a
rolling in the dough over here.
money. That's not a money goal. That's a job you got to do out of passion, man. I do think that we're coming into a time where people are really starting to realize that it's not about the things,
I
that
would agree.
it's more about the things money can't buy, I guess,
The
that are
memories,
going to
man.
add to your, yeah, for sure. For sure. So I
Hmm.
think it's going to be an interesting to watch, and see how that changes the whole keeping up with the Joneses thing. I think that's going to the wayside. People don't care about keeping up with the Joneses. They care about keeping themselves happy.
Yeah. I will say though, sometimes those really nice travel trailers come into the park.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
wee, oh wee, that looks nice.
Oh, I've been to an RV show and I've seen some really nice ones. You know what? As much as we were talking about how much I love my backyard, I've been in some other backyards where I'm like, dang, there's so much stuff I still want to do back there to make it better, nicer. And then I'm like, okay, but that's just a goal. So I guess
Yeah.
really that's a great way to define success there too, is defining success as reaching goals you set for yourself. Success is so interesting that I feel almost snotty saying this, but I I sometimes find it funny that some people are still chasing that great American dream because I keep waiting on them to, in my opinion, wake up and realize the great American dream is whatever you want it to be, dude.
Absolutely.
it's whatever you want. It doesn't have to be everyone else's idea, of what that looks like. I would say our lesson learned and growth earned on this is do not let society or others define what success is in your life. You get to decide what it's going to look like when your life is successful and how that will tie in with your happiness. And also, don't be stuck in one form of success. If you find a new goal, by all means, reach for it. We are constantly changing and growing, and that means that our views of success will change too.
In our next episode, we'll explore bullying. You're going to get our hot take on it. Thanks for listening. Until next time, go out there and be your favorite self.
Yes. And as always, if you have a topic you'd like us to discuss in a future episode, send us an email at adulthoodisaproject@gmail.com. And be sure to like and subscribe on your favorite listening platform to catch all our future episodes.